To this story now, the Wits SRC says it's been able to assist at least 350 students with registration. This comes after student leaders managed to raise nearly 5 million rand to assist with fees. The first weeks of the academic year were marred with nationwide protests as students demanded the right to register without paying. I'm now joined via Zoom by Wits SRC President Mpendulo Mfeka. Mpendulo, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Well done, by the way, and actually getting this to happen. How many students outside of the 350 are you looking at helping to register?
So first and foremost, I must mention that the 350 students are but a small portion of the greater problem, right? It's the tip of the iceberg. And we still obviously intend to assist more. There's about 800 or so that are still left without an ability to register. And we will continue to try find ways to help them get registered.
Yeah, so you've managed to raise this money how?
So I think you would have been aware about 2 months back, I think first week or second week of Jan, we started a campaign, a fundraising campaign, the 21 million in 2021. And the campaign was basically an interventionist approach aimed at curing the problem, the financial crisis problem that we face currently in the country, because we had resolved as an SRC that protest would be the last resort. And unfortunately, we did end up at the last resort. And even when we did end up at the last resort, we didn't get what we wanted. So the raising of the funds was primarily an interventionist approach to try and cure a problem which we currently still even face even now.
Yeah. And of course, as you say, this does not mean that the protest action is over. So let's talk then about your negotiations with government on the way forward. We know that the Higher Education Department was saying that they're working on getting final approval on funding. What's the latest on that?
So as it stands currently, we've made submissions before the Portfolio Committee of DHET in Parliament. And our submissions were primarily centered around one. First and foremost, the implementation of a free higher education bill, tabling, and that bill must also speak to the clearing of historical debt. And then second, we want in protest, public order policing, and this speaks largely to the Ministry of Police, but we want public order policing more so in student protests to be dealt with accordingly, because we feel that public order policing in this country is not trained or is not equipped in the way it should. And then third, we want justice for Mthokozi Sintumba. It's unfortunate that the police who shot and brutally killed Mthokozi Sintumba are out on bail. And in fact, not only out on bail, they're also at work. So among our submissions was also a call for justice towards Mthokozi Sintumba and his family. And then obviously the scrapping of all historical debt and the registration of students. Very few of those demands were met, if any. I can't think of one that was met. But it's a conversation which I think as student leaders were willing to have from our side. But it's a conversation that precedes our term of office and perhaps our very existence in university spaces.
Yeah, so also let's talk about the protests, right? So you're still unhappy about the process. We're not seeing many students out protesting in the past couple of days. Why is that? Have you chosen a different way of approaching this?
So most universities are currently, Wits in particular, and a few others, are currently having their test week. And we're trying to get, with our process of distributing the 5.7 million we raised, we're trying to get as many students into the system as we could before test week could start. And that could have taken or diverted our attention from protest into what's getting people actually, with the means we have at the moment, into the system. Right, and I think more than anything, it's not necessarily a dying out of the protest. We must look at it as a movement. Right, it has peaks and lows, and currently, as part of a low, we are trying to assist students with registration. We've assisted a few. We hope to assist more, and we ultimately will take the conversation to its logical conclusion, that being government. And we don't think protests should be centered around university spaces, because the issue of free education in our country is not a student issue, it's a societal working class issue in our country. So we can't be protesting at Wits alone. The conversation needs to go to communities, it needs to go to government itself, and it needs to go to its primary genesis, because we're being unfair we're cutting the cake at the top if we want to have the conversation in university spaces only.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. That's Wits SRC President Mpendulo Mfeka.